Sup, brothers? Hope everyone's doing well out there. It's a little bit later than usual. I had a lot going on this evening. But nonetheless, I wanted to turn the camera on to shoot the shit with you guys for a little while. And the title of this video is One Simple Reason Why So Many Men Are Leaving the Dating Game. And let me preface this by saying this isn't going to be a doomer video. None of my videos are doomer videos. Now, most people don't know that because they only watch the first half of the video. The second half is always advice. It's a proposed solution. So, we're going to try to keep this positive, but we do have to talk about the facts, nonetheless. Alright, so let's get straight into it. Let's get to the cold hard truth. The bitter pill to swallow. Men have seen behind the curtain. The jig is up. The facade that once was is no more. Now, what facade am I talking about? Now, let me start out by saying you're either a beggar or a chooser. You're one or the other. Okay, that's your place in the dating market. A beggar or a chooser. You're either a backup plan or a plan A, a number one option. And when you look at the opposite sex, and really whether you're a man or a woman, when you look at the opposite sex, you'll know collectively how they view you. Are you a primary number one option, or are you a backup plan? Do you get rejected? Do you get left on red? You know, do you have people canceling plans on you, not wanting to be with you? Do you find yourself chasing and begging? You're a backup plan. Okay, do people never say no to you? You know, do women always drop what they're doing to come see you? Do they hit you up asking you if they can come over to your place? Do they always respond back to your text messages? Well, you're a primary option. Okay, now why am I telling you guys this? There's a point to it. Okay, up until, and we don't have to go too far back, up until around 20 years ago, nobody understood that. So here's what happened. When people were young, you know, you had your number one option people, both men and women. For men, these were the jocks, the bad boys, the academic scholars, the guys that had things going on in their lives, the frat boys. And for women, these are the women with the nice bodies and the cute faces. And women that have a certain social intelligence to them. They're very good at flirting, right? So when you take these people, these men and these women, they're choosers. They're not beggars. That's their position. And typically what happens is, you know, before it's all said and done, the choosers end up with each other. You know, they get married, children, they go off and they live their life. And what happens with the beggars is, well, the beggars, you know, the guys, they want to hook up with the hot chicks, but they can't quite ever pull it off. A lot of you guys say cringe when I say chicks, but I think it fits, I think it lands very smooth right in that sentence. So I'm going to keep saying it. And there's a female version of that too. There's a lot of women out there that, you know, they want to lock down the bad boy. They want to lock down the jock, the academic scholar. You know, every woman wants to know that she can get a man obsessed with him, right? She can get a man, you know, whatever man she wants, she can get him to fall in love, be attached, committed, long term. You know, but most women can't get those guys to do it. So what happens is you have all these people that sort of get left behind. You know, these are the plan B people. And up until around 20 years ago, 2005, 2006, Plan B people would typically go through the cycle a few times. You know, the dudes would get ghosted by enough hot women. You know, rejected and heartbroken by enough hot women. And the Plan B women, they would, you know, maybe try to hook up with the jocks and the bad boys and the high status men, but they'd end up getting manipulated, used and dumped. And so what happens, like I said, they go through this cycle a few times, and the backup plan people just end up getting with each other, right? They end up settling for each other. And this is why TV shows like Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion, that was a movie actually, they were so popular in the 90s. TV shows like Married with Children, you know, even like The Simpsons or Family Guy or whatever, you know, the premise of these shows was you had a family that started by a man and a woman that settled for each other. They didn't really want each other. They weren't really attracted to each other. They just got with each other. Well, that's the facade. Okay, and it didn't help that they threw us like movies like American Pie and stuff. So you had all these guys that were like nerds thinking they're going to hook up with all these dun 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 hot and horny girls, right? Wasn't going to happen. So anyways, that's the facade, you know, that people were sold. And obviously it's not rocket science here. Social media came around and showed us what's really going on. You know, it wasn't in your face before. You didn't see it. You know, those women, those Plan B women, didn't have to go on Facebook or Instagram and see the jock that's 6'4" that used to give her piggyback rides at the park, you know, before he would knock her socks off, only to have Plan B worship her feet later on. You know, but now she has to roll on Facebook when she's with the guy she's with and see this guy. And he's even taller. He's even more jacked. He's even richer. He's even more handsome. So now she sees what could have been. Right? And men, same thing, right? You know, they all want to hook up with the hot women. They've had their mind set on the hot women. They watch porn and see hot women. The Instagram thirst traps and see hot women. It's all over the place. You know, the facade of people settling for each other they don't actually want to be with is over with. And the average guy realizes that. And the average guy understands, and this is the bitter pill to swallow, that he is viewed as a Plan B. You know, guys are so obsessed with learning about hypergamy and alpha male shit and all these topics, right? They understand that there's something to all of that, right? It's not quite as hardcore as they may believe that it is, but it does exist. Now, the main thing here is understanding that being Plan A, being the first choice, is not, I mean, it's easier said than done, I'll put it that way. You can't just snap your fingers and be numero uno. But you can refuse to be a backup plan. Okay, and that's a start. Now, keep in mind, Plan A is the guy that was partying with, okay, when everyone's single, Plan A is the guy that parties with her on Saturday night, gets wild with her. Plan B is the guy that takes her out for lunch on Sunday morning, you know, when she's ashamed of her actions from Saturday night. And he has no clue what was going on. Now he knows what was going on. That's why they're walking away. But anyways, you can choose to never be a Plan B. And you want to know how you do it? This is the most important part. You know, you have to be direct about your intentions. And I'm sure you've heard me say that. You've heard other people say that a million times before. But it's a point that needs to be understood. If you don't want to be a plan B, you have to be very direct about your intentions. So let's say you meet a woman and whatever it is you're looking for, let's say you're only looking for a friend with benefits, and you tell her, hey, I'm just looking for a friend with benefits, that's all. And she says, sorry, I'm not interested. You say, okay. And then she runs and tells all of her friends, I thought he was an all right guy, but turns out he's just looking for one thing. Well, I don't know how else to break it to you, but some of her friends might be looking for that one thing as well. So now they see you as an option. So now you're heading towards option number one, top priority territory. Right? She views you as, the D appointment. Or it could be the other way around. Maybe you're looking for marriage. And you tell a woman you're looking for something serious. You don't want to pursue something serious with her, but you can tell her, yeah, this is what my plan is in the future. And she may say, sorry, I'm just looking for something short term. But then she runs and tells all of her friends, yeah, he's a good guy. He's looking for a wife. Maybe one of her friends is looking for a wife or a husband. That's how you become a primary option. But like I said, it's easier said than done. You can't just snap your fingers and be a primary option. But what you can do is eliminate being a backup plan. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Well, isn't being direct about your intentions kind of isn't that not so conducive to seducing a woman? Isn't it counterintuitive? And here's what you need to understand. The number one way a man ends up being a backup plan or in the friend zone or being led on, used, is by trying to seduce a woman. Okay, because you try to seduce a woman, or the same thing if a woman's trying to seduce a man and he's a player that's savvy to this shit. So let's say you're trying to seduce a woman and she catches on. She says, okay, I see what he's doing. He's trying to seduce me. So she plays the game with you. And you think, oh yeah, I've got her right where I want her. Well, that is how you get trapped in the friend zone. She walked you into the trap, right? And that's how bad boy, high value alpha jocks walk the backup plan women into the trap. They they see the woman's trying to make a move and they pretend like they like her. They play her game a little bit, let her think she has the upper hand. They get what they want and they dump her. Right? That's how the game works. When the chooser is, exercising their skill set, you could say. Might be immoral, might be degenerate, but it's the way the game works, right? So, like I said, guys, you're either at the party, drinking from the bottle, sucking on the nipple, or you're going and you're taking her to lunch on Sunday morning, right? And you can choose which one you're not willing to do. You can't always choose which one you can do. But remember, the objective here is to become the chooser, not the beggar. All these guys use this term, chasing. You're chasing women. There is no such thing as chasing a woman. You're not playing tag. No, there's a beggar and there's a chooser. Do you want to go out on Friday night? Begging. You want to come over? Begging. Begging, right? The chooser is more so like responding to texts. Why don't you come over tonight around 8? Ooh, yes, yes. Or she just invites you over to her house. And you know when a lady invites you over to her place, for the first time, and she's like leaning back all shy and horny, like she doesn't want to say anything. You know what I'm talking about. She's on the couch, like in the corner of the couch, leaning back, like just all shy and horny, wanting you to make a move, waiting to pounce on you and get all nasty. But, you know, that's the way the chooser operates. Now, I know this may sound satirical, but, you know, we're actually being serious here. So, once you become the chooser, and, you know, I know a lot of you guys will say it's all about looks. Looks play a role. They certainly do. You know, especially if you want to be right off the bat, you want to be the chooser and the primary option. Yeah, looks play a big role. But it's your behavior that dictates where you land and what you are. You can choose which category you're in. You can't choose the success rate. Your behavior can alter the success rate, but you can't choose it altogether. But you can choose which position you're in. So be direct all the time. You know, you would be surprised, whatever it is you're looking for, whatever it is you want, every woman out there at some point in time wants that as well. You know, maybe she doesn't want it right now, but she, 3 weeks later does want it, so she hits you up. Right? You're choosing. But you can't fall back and be the backup plan. You can't be begging, and you know by your behavior. Every single encounter you have when you're communicating with a woman that you're dating with, trying to get the ball rolling, ask yourself, am I begging or am I choosing? I think the natural dynamic is for the man to be the chooser and for the woman to be the beggar. And I think women would prefer it that way. All the statistics show it. All the evidence shows it. All the real life experience shows it. Women don't like a man that grovels at their feet. Like I said, they want the guy that knocks her socks off, and she'll let the plan B worship her feet. But that's essentially my advice on that subject. Hope I went into detail there. Hope the information landed as it was supposed to, but yeah, the tough part, the bitter pill to swallow is we've seen behind the curtain. We didn't used to know. How many guys out there 20 years ago, Plan B guys ended up with a Plan B woman, right? I'm talking he's 30 years old, and we're talking the single moms and the spinsters. He's like, oh, my ship has finally sailed in. Could never have her whenever she was young and hot. And now he can get her, and he's just okay with that. But I think the average guy is no longer viewing that as quite as appetizing as it once was. Once you see the facade, you see what's really going on. And by the way, this goes hand in hand with what's going on with that podcaster guy. I don't like to dig into other people's business. That's not my style. But the subject matter of this video falls right into that category, okay? She spent her whole life, you take a woman that spent her whole youth hooking up with the choosers, the jocks and the bad boys, Probably never could lock any of them down, probably just enjoyed the time she spent, but wanted them to really take her seriously. But, they wouldn't. So she, maybe, a woman like that might cope a little bit and act like, well, I'm cool with it because I'm having fun. But the truth is, she never could lock one of those alphas down. And then here comes a dude, finally got some success going for him. He's in his 30s, and he decides to go in and be the beggar, be the backup plan. And then gets married, and that's the situation, 20 years ago it might have worked out. 30 years ago it would have worked out. In this day and age, it's tough. I mean, hell, I think any guy that has put himself out there, he's worked hard and he's made some money, he's done some things with his life, he deserves to be a chooser. He shouldn't be in that beggar position. I think he can find a woman that would respect him. Not to say that their relationship, I don't know everything about their relationship and don't care to. But I don't care about the drama side of it, but I do think there's a lesson to be learned in some of the behavior, All right, guys. I don't really see a reason to ramble on anymore, but hope this video was somewhat informative. And that's about it for tonight, guys. Until next time, see ya.